beginning of each week, I like to make my own chicken stock, and this is a great cost saver for our family. The stock finds its way into dishes throughout the week, and also I boil the chicken, so the chicken meat finds its way into a family dish too. So what I like to do is first start by taking a pretty high quality chicken, and I'll remove anything that I don't want to put in the stock and rinse it, and then I'm going to fill my stock pot here with some filtered water. I like to use a filtered water because I used to be on municipal water, and you know, there's a fluoride in there and chlorine and a lot of things I really don't want to feed my family, so I use filtered water. This time I'm actually seasoning my stock, which I don't normally do. I just happen to have some celery in the fridge, so I thought I would make some seasoned stock. And so I added a little celery, carrots, and onion, and with some salt and pepper to this. And I let it simmer for about 2 hours. And it turns out really nice. The chicken is completely done, so I removed it. And then I'm just going to filter out the stock. And the reason why I don't season all of my stock, most of the times I don't season it, is because I don't know where it's going to end up, what kind of dish it's going to end up in. And I like to cook with shallots a lot. And so I don't like an onion flavor when I cook with shallots. So I usually just keep it a nice clean stock. I do want to point out here, you'll see that I'm putting this in glass jars. I like to keep my life simple when it comes to storage containers. So I use glass jars a lot for everything. And I do recommend that if you are also going to use glass, make sure that you do not fill up your jars all the way, because they will crack in your freezer as it expands when it freezes. I've probably frozen well over 1,000 quarts of chicken stock, and I think I cracked 3 jars, and that was just because of my error. I just pushed the limit. So I'm going to get just a little bit more in there than I should, and I filled it up a little bit too much, and of course it cracked. So I'm going to go ahead and label this one seasoned, because like I said, I don't normally season it. And I will put these in the refrigerator overnight, let them cool down a lot, and then the next day is when I put them in the freezer. I will use the chicken probably within the next 2 days in some kind of family dish. Now here I have some chicken thighs that were off the bone, and I just trimmed them. So I trimmed the fat off of them, because there's always a lot of fat on chicken thighs. And I'm just going to make a simple broth with this. And you know, a broth is when you use meat to with your water, and a stock is when you use bones. When I boil my chicken, I call that a stock because I am using bones, and it's much richer than a broth. But you know, you can call it whatever you want to, but I do call it stock. So I'm just seasoning this a little bit. I'm going to let it simmer here for about an hour, and then just strain that out, and that'll be a broth I can put in just about anything. So all of these will go into my freezer, and that's where I always keep it. And then when I need one, I'll thaw it out on the countertop overnight, and the next morning I'll put it into the refrigerator. This is just so it thaws well. And now my stock is much richer than a broth, and you can actually get it as thick as you want to if you let it simmer out a little bit, and it will congeal nicely. Now if your stock ends up being this thick and it congeals, don't use near as much as you would if you just let it simmer for a couple hours like this. This is normally how my stock looks. Has a little bit of fat on the top after it's thawed. The fat's separated, and so I'll just add this here to the soup I'm making. That's usually where it ends up, but sometimes I like to make a gravies or sauces for pasta with it. And for instance, here I'm doing a French tarragon with mushrooms and some shallots, and then I just added a little bit of cream and some butter, and a little sour cream I think went in this pasta dish, but it was really good. And then of course, like I mentioned, I like to put it in soups. This is one of our favorites. It's a kale and sweet pepper soup, and that's a great little family dish with a little Italian sausage and some fennel in it, and fennel seed. And then here I was making just some lemon garlic spinach as a side dish. It's really good with some shallots, and I like to add a little bit of chicken stock to that. Just makes it a little bit more rich. So I like to have chicken stock around. If I don't have it, I really feel like a fish out of water in the kitchen. I really can't cook. I've got to have that in my refrigerator. I've just become so used to having it around. It just adds a wonderful layer of flavor. It makes any dish just a little bit richer and flavorful. So that's why I like to use chicken stock in just about anything I cook, really. And so another thing, of course, is just like I mentioned, soups is where it usually ends up finding its way into some kind of stew or soups. Here is just a chicken mushroom soup, and that's a nice just go-to, really quick thing I can throw together with some things that I've already made. Now, as far as the chicken, you can't sit down and eat the chicken like you would a rotisserie chicken or something like that. It's really kind of dry after you've cooked it. After you've stewed it for a little while, it ends up being pretty dry. It needs to end up in a dish with a lot of cream or cheese, something like that. So just as an example, I was doing this. I just threw in some barbecue sauce with a little bit of stock, and then I made some just chicken sliders with some homemade yeast rolls and some green beans from the garden. That was just a quick, family meal. And the chicken can end up just about in anything. For instance, here was a burrito casserole with some, I made the filling with the chicken and some corn, some black beans, and then just like a white sauce. And then, of course, some chicken curry, one of our favorite meals, with some sweet potatoes. Here it was really thickened sauce with sweet potatoes in it, really good. I'll put it in chicken salad. The chicken can usually end up anywhere, but it's a great savings for the family, and I know where everything comes from, and it's something that I've really been wanting to do a video on this for so long, so hopefully you can try it out too. Thank you so much for watching, and have a beautiful day.